Today we're looking at the pattern transition trick for the MPC. I borrowed the name from the Octatrack, where the pattern transition trick is the name that I believe Turkith gave the trick of recording a loop and then using the crossfader to cut over to the recording of the loop. That gives you a chance to change your music in the background rather, and then crossfade back from the recording of the loop to your new track. We take a similar approach here on the MPC. I did a video last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, using the Akai Force for this trick. The Force is nice because it has a crossfader and it also has a macros feature. So you can change more than one setting as you turn a knob or move the fader. I understand in the MPC 3.0 software they're going to have the macros feature. They won't have a crossfader, of course, but the macros feature will be available. I haven't tried the MPC 3.0 software yet. I'm actually looking forward to installing that, which is why I want to shoot this video now, because I have the 2.5, I believe, software on there now. And I have a pretty, I don't want to call it complicated, powerful looping effect set up on the MPC now. I had set this up for a performance a few months ago for the Def SF techno rave underground night, and basically the brief was try not to take too long to load in and load out. So I agreed I'd just show up with the MPC live, which means the live was doing all the performing, all the finishing effects, master channel effects, all the looping, all the sort of performance effects all in one box. And the idea was I could switch in and out almost as easily as how a DJ might do it. We've got a 2-stage looper set up. I have one looper that's capturing a 2-bar loop and one looper that's capturing a 1/2-bar loop. So I'm able to record the track, have the loopy 2-bar loopy version of it, have a more sort of techno feeling shorter loop, and then crossfade between all 3 different versions. We're going to set that up on the MPC here, and I'll show you what else involved in setting that up, as well as how to use it. Let's get a look at how the mixer is set up here. See, all the programs are routed to different submixes. In this case, we have submix 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's for, like, you know, the bass drum or the secondary percussion, the leads, etc. The leads is the one we're going to focus on. That's on submix 2 here. You see we have 2 XYFX plugins here. The one of them is going to be our 2-bar looper, and one of them is going to be our 1/2-bar looper. And they're in order, so the output of the one looper is going to cascade into the input of the other looper. So let's get a look at the first looper. You see over here on our knobs, you've got enable mapped to enable on the XY effect here, set to the beat repeat high pass. And then we have a wet dry here. So if you want to loop, you're going to first enable the looper and then crossfade wet dry into the contents of the looper. This x-axis here is the high pass filter. So if you wanted to, you could hook another knob to this and use this to high pass out your audio signal. Let's go take a look at the other one. This is our 2-bar looper. That's enable here, and then wet dry here. You see here the X is set all the way to 0, so that means 2-bar, whereas on this guy, it's set to about, what would you call that, 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30. It's set to this value, which is a 1/2 bar. It's quantized, so it'll go from, you know, whatever it is, 16ths or 30 seconds, 1/2 bar. Sorry, it's the other way around. It'll go from 16ths, 30 seconds, all the way down here to 1/2 bar, whole bar, 2-bar. So this is our 1/2 bar setting. And again, this guy has your high pass. And then this release is useful. I should probably actually have this on. What this does is if you have the wet dry all the way up and enable it, and then disable it, instead of just cutting back over to not having any effect at all, it'll crossfade for you here to the tune of, I think it's 1 second there. All right, let's get a look at the project here. I did most of my composing on the first group of tracks here. So as I'm scrolling down, I can tell, like, I was working on a strobe. I used the drum kit called WN, and it was sequence 34, sequence 35, 36, etc. Then there's a gap, and then down here is where the live set starts. So here at sequence 54, for example, is the opening track, next track, next track. And after I had the intro figured out, I would leave a space of an empty track, an unused track in between different sequences, so that, if I wanted to reorder them later, it wouldn't be too much of a pain in the butt. So I'm just going to grab a random one, hit play here. Let's get a look at the cue links. You can shift between the 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of cue links here, and if you touch them, the little menu comes up. Let's go to the main menu though, so that way we don't have to flip between them. Over here on the first bank of cue links, this is a global cutoff for the track. So this is just a generic performance effect. I actually have a global high pass as well. I think that's over here. So that's a high pass on the drums. Going back here to the first bank, so we have the low pass. We have this volume. This is the volume for the leads. So you can just have the drums, or you can have the volume for the leads here. And then the saturation is like a flavor for the leads. Has a big impact on the volume there. And then finally, here's like a gate effect I was using on the leads. The second bank here is where the loopers are. That's right here. So you see there's 4 knobs. The top knob is the enable for the looper. And then the second knob is the wet dry, so that'll fade in the looper. You hear how it's just a half bar loop now? And these are cascaded, so I'll fade this back out and we'll listen to the main track. And then turn off the looper. And let's take a look at the bottom looper. This is a 2-bar looper. Turn it on, and you fade it in. We could engage the, let's do this. Let's go and switch to the next sequence. When this status bar gets to the end, in the background it'll move to the next track. But we don't hear that yet. So let's go take a look at the looper, and we'll fade the looper out. Now you hear the other track coming in from behind. So until we turn off or disable the looper, that original track is still here. So this is the track from before. So let's do this. Let's let's grab a loop, a half bar loop, and this is actually going to grab in the background the new track. So let's just bring that all the way in wet, and we'll back the old track out. And while we've got this other track playing, or the other loop playing, we could go in and mess with the volume, we could mess with the saturation, we could mess with the low pass, cutoff rather there. We could dial in the gate effect. We can leave part of the original track in there, and then back out of the half bar loop of the new track. Let me go turn that gate effect off. So now we're in the new track. So let's do that over again. Let's grab a 2-bar loop. Track is about to end here. Let's go to the next song, or next sequence here. Here's our status. It's an 8-bar sequence, but we have the loop engaged. So it's cut to the new track. And then we can fade back. Sounds a little quiet to me, so I'm going to go goose it up over here on the and then disengage the looper. This 2-bar looper, it's like a 2-bar buffer, so you need to disengage it and then wait for 2 bars before you hit it again, or it'll give you unpredictable results. Let's pull in the 1/2-bar looper. I'm just going to grab a loop and then fade it in. Let's go ahead and kick in the next sequence. And so the new sequence is in the background, and we'll fade the 1/2-bar looper out. So I think that's a pretty good combination. Since these loopers actually cascade, let's grab 2 bars of this mix. Engage the looper. Crossfade into the copy. Now I can turn off this other looper, and I have the mix that's still in there. We could grab an entirely different 1/2-bar loop, and then let's go listen to what that sounds like. Now let's fade out that 1/2-bar loop. Let's grab a 2-bar loop and transition to the next sequence. Sounds a little quiet, so let's goose it up a little bit. Bring in that gate effect. And then fade out the loop. Let's see what this feels like with a 1/2-bar loop layered on it. you want to leave comments on these videos, that's always a nice feeling. Another way you can support the channel is the music that's either in the background or in the demos on these videos is usually posted to my SoundCloud, so that's updated pretty frequently. I have a Bandcamp as well. My performer name is All That's Gone. Right now up in the Bandcamp I have an album of ambient techno, mostly made using the Chaos Odessa. Next up is going to be some more Moog sounding, very analog feeling, hypnotic techno. That'll be out hopefully in a month. I'm working on trying to do something bigger for the release of that, maybe have a party here in the Bay Area to sort of memorialize the occasion.